Welcome back to Breaking Down Storage Tech. Today we're breaking down an accessible box loader haul that runs at 2 times speed, hopper speed. This has been made by Nverted and EasyJo. So this system is probably one of the coolest accessible hauls I've ever seen. And just for the reference, an accessible haul, let me get in here. So an accessible means that basically you get 3 access points to your items. You get one up here for items where it'll be filled in with your shulker box. So like if you have however many items like this is the shulker box that's being filled. Once it gets filled and broken, you get access to it in here, so you get access to the full shulker box, and you also get access to a full shulker box like this. Now this is basically, the whole point of accessible hauls is it's a one-size-fit-all, because you get a decent, for items with a decent amount of items, you get access to them through here, and if you need a little bit more of them, you can get through here. Then it's also for bulk, because it has 2 double chests plus a couple of hoppers worth of storage full of shulker boxes, and also for those really rare items, you'll find them in here in your loading box. This is for like, you can kind of say lazy people who don't want to like bother trying to figure out, oh, this is going to be my bulk items and these are going to be my regular and these are going to be my miss items and things like that. It just allows you to copy and paste the whole slice for an entire storage system, but it does come at the cost of your haul will be incredibly long because, you know, it only has 1 item or 2 items per slice. Now, getting straight into it, one of the things this system uses is a 2 times hopper speed filter, but this filter is actually an overstacked filter, as you can see in the hopper right here. Now, this is currently bugged in 1.20.5, so it will be a little bit buggy, but how it works is it uses bugged stack unstackables. This can be done in earlier versions like 1.20.4 and below, I believe, using cursed books, which you use a grindstone and cursed books, but you can also do it with the carpet rule stackable shulker boxes, as you can see here, but it's just a little bit buggy in 1.20.5 plus. So how the system works is that your items will get filtered across, or the packed ice, or the items will get thrown across the packed ice and be able to be picked up by this hopper right here. Once they go into here, this comparator right here will cause as soon as this goes over, it will power this strongly enough to power this comparator right here, which will unpower this redstone torch, allowing this item right here to fill, or these 2 hoppers right here to unlock. And this is the principle of a double speed hopper, or a double speed system, is because this hopper is getting filtered out by this hopper right here, but this hopper is getting pulled out from down here, which pushes into here, but at the same time it is also pushing into this hopper, which is pushing down here. So this causes basically 2 times hopper speed because it's getting filtered out at 2 times. Now, the hopper locking for this is a little bit weird on this system, so it makes more sense to go over here with, basically it uses a sticky piston right here and a piece of redstone right here. Basically, when you want to lock it, there's an imaginary power source here. It will power this redstone wire right here, which will power this hopper right here and power this hopper right here. What do these glass blocks mean? Basically, these orange ones are, or basically just these 2 are orange ones that you have to manually lock yourself through an external wiring through the system. Green ones are green glass on top of the hopper, means that those hoppers have to be, or are automatically locked by the system, and red ones are unlocked hoppers. So that is another cost of an accessible loader haul. So most of the time you're going to have at least 1 or if not 2 locked hopper or unlocked hoppers the entire time. Now, the reason for the piston or the redstone line over here is basically you'd have piston or a redstone line running all the way across and then repeaters powering it on and off. And 1 piston is good for every like 15 blocks in each direction, because the redstone line will be powered on for that long. So it'll push in, basically lock all of the hoppers. Now, getting straight into how this system works. How this works is all of the items get pushed into here. This dropper right here. This dropper takes an output, or this comparator takes an output from the dropper, which powers this block right here. This block, or this is for any amount of items, and as soon as any amount of items, it will unpower this hopper. And this sends signals in 2 directions, up here and down here. Up here, how this works is this redstone torch will unpower, which will unpower these rail lines. Now this will send a signal to this system right here, which is essentially a clock. What happens with this clock is this rail line powers, or this observer detects the unpowering of this rail line, which powers this rail line, which updates this observer, which powers this, which powers the rail line again, and this causes a loop to send signals. The reason it doesn't power both of them is because if this system isn't on, or if this item or this half of the system isn't powering, this redstone torch will be on, keeping this powered regardless. Now, what happens then is it will send a pulse down to this observer, or this observer will detect it, which sends a pulse to here, but that really does nothing apart from keep the redstone torch off a little bit longer. But what it also does is update this observer right here, which through the use of, or basically just powers this item hopper right here. Powering this item hopper also powers this dropper right here, so it pushes all the items down. Now, at the same time, this unpowers, causing a block update to this note block right here, which this observer will detect, powering this block. This block will power this note block, powering this observer right here, which gets detected. So it powers this block, and this itself is a loop right here, following the same principle as this system right here with the redstone torch, making sure that this is always on if it's not in use. So basically it'll keep powering, and that'll send signals A to this observer and this observer, so it'll power down, or push an item down, push an item down. And at the same time, it also powers this note block right here, along with these going down from this signal, from this block powering this note block, powering these two observers. So that sends a signal going down like this, and this powers each individual dropper. And because there's a block right here, this observer, when it powers this block, so it shoots this dropper, but at the same time, it shoots this dropper right here by powering this note block. So essentially what happens is it just sends items down this huge vertical dropper line at the speed of double hopper speed, because of the clock runs at double hopper speed. Now, getting into the actual meat and potatoes of the system, the accessible part. Now, so this system right here, once this box is full, nothing really happens. Because I can even do it right here. Nothing will happen because it's an accessible hull. It's really almost impossible to get a comparator output from this, with it still being one wide tileable, because you can't really access it. So this system relies on getting a readout from the overfill. So what will happen is, once this item gets filled right here, or the shulker box gets filled, basically until you keep getting items which will fill up this dropper, and since this dropper can no longer push items into here, they'll just keep staying in here because it's a dropper and not a dispenser. Now this repeats until you get right here, where this comparator will finally take an output. Now, you might ask, why does this system right here, or why does this comparator not pick up any signals from the dropper right here when the items are going down? And that's because the dropper line is so fast that it doesn't give the time for the comparator to pick it up. Now, at the same time, it also powers this observer gets powered every time that this dropper gets updated, which powers this line. But because of the redstone tick is so long, it barely allows anything to happen, and essentially powers just these two empty droppers, which really does nothing. Now that you've filled up all of this stuff, so all of this dropper right here, and just continuing up, all this dropper right here, all this dropper right here, and then you start filling up this dropper. This comparator will take an output which will power this block right here. This block does two main things. It powers this sticky piston, which pushes this comparator up. And once this composter is up with a level of 1, it sends off the signal in two main directions: the left and then the right. Now this is the two main things. The first right signal is really easy. It just takes a comparator output from this composter, so it powers this block and this note block, powering these two droppers right here, essentially keeping them powered, so that way no items can keep getting pushed down and stuff and messing with the comparator signals. Because if you think about it logically, the reason that it does this is because it's detecting items in here, so it's running the system. But if you keep filling up this item slot right here while it's trying to get rid of all the items, then that kind of defeats the point. So it keeps this locked for a good while until this dropper right here gets unloaded. So that way, once the system knows it has space, because this dropper gets unloaded and it has space to put more items, it puts more items. Now, the second signal is a little bit more complicated. What happens is this comparator powers this sticky piston, moving this observer, which powers this block right here. This block sends two signals, one to this powered rail, which sends a lot of observer signals, and at the same time it also powers this repeater right here, which powers this sticky piston right here, which moves down, causing an observer update, powering this note block, powering this sticky piston, and pushing this composter in, and pushing the composter, breaking the shulker box, and keeping the shulker box inside that little area of the composter, which allows it to pull back and go into this hopper. Now this is locked, but when it's running, it's not locked, because this powered rail got updated, causing this observer line to power, which powers this block, powering this note block, updating this observer, which sends a signal to this repeater right here, unlocking or unpowering this redstone torch, which unpowers this repeater right here, unlocking this item hopper. At the same time, this redstone torch will power because it's no longer powered from here, which will unpower this redstone torch, allowing these 3 hoppers right here to, sorry, not all 3, these 2 hoppers right here to unpower. So essentially it causes this gets buffered into this hopper for a small amount of time. So that is the 2 systems from here. Now at the same time, you may notice that once it gets moved back and pushed up, this observer will detect and power this. This is because this line right here is your shulker line. Now what happens in this shulker line is very simple. This shulker line gets run in from this item hopper right here, and you just have a dropper line over here, so you can extend it infinitely, or wrong direction, but you get the idea. And how you power this shulker line is by updating these observers. So it'll cause a power and push it into the next, and this allows the observer or the item hopper to constantly be pulling out. And what happens is once this gets put or powered, and this hopper gets this gets pulsed and it pushes one of the shulker boxes to push into here, the hopper will empty one shulker box into here, which will cause this observer to detect that, powering this repeater right here, which will cause a signal into this here because the observer powers this repeater, which powers this dropper through it, so it shoots it into here, and it also shoots or powers this observer through this repeater, powering this dispenser to shoot out. Now this system does have a few shulker boxes buffered, but really if you're using an accessible system, you're gonna need to have a lot of shulker boxes. Now that the item is in here, it can do 2 main things. One is go into here and just get stuck into this box right here with all your other full boxes. But at the same time, if all of these are full, it will just get stuck here because this item hopper won't be able to fit it. So what happens is this hopper pushes it into here, which pushes it into this dropper. Why this dropper? And how does this dropper get powered? This dropper gets powered whenever this redstone torch repowers, or also when this system moves down and the hopper or this observer moves down and powers the note block above it. And this is your overflow line. So basically you could have water stream going into a few hoppers and things like that, which basically allow the system to, or just a bunch of double chests full of anything that you might overflow. Now, that is the main accessible part. Now the last accessible part is the box display, and this was originally designed by Acacia-chan, but the design has been modified slightly. The reason, or you can see it in 2 states right here. One where it has a box full of items and you can like vary this amount. Oh, that was smart of me. You can vary this box amount, like I could take out a bunch of boxes right here and you have it and it still works. It only triggers, as you can see right there, it only triggers when the shulker box is empty. Now you can see on both sides right here, this is when it has an item, and you can see that the UI is very clean right here, and yeah, very pretty. But on the other side, you can see if there's no box, it extends to block it, and I think that's a really cool feature just there, so that way you don't just have a gap in your storage system. But how this mainly works is this system takes an output, and once this is while this system takes an output, this comparator is powering this block, which powers this note block, keeping this sticky piston powered, and keeping this redstone block here, keeping this sticky piston powered, keeping this observer powered. Now, at the same time, it also keeps this redstone torch unpowered, so this sticky piston's unpowered, so this torch isn't here. But when this goes to 0, this comparator unpowers. So what first it does is powers this redstone torch, pushing this piston out here, so it blocks it, so that way the item can't be flung, or the box can't be flung up, because this uses a bottom breaker system. And at the same time, it unpowers this, so this will retract, meaning this will retract, and this causes an update in the observer, so it'll power this iron trapdoor. Once this iron trapdoor is powered, it will send 2 signals because of this observer and this observer. The first signal that it'll send is to this observer right here, which will power up and power the system, but at the same time it also powers this observer right here, which will send a signal to this redstone repeater, to this redstone torch, which will send a whole nother signal, but that's not the main point. What it'll also do is unpower this redstone torch, or no, this will unpower, this will repower, so this will unpower, which causes this line right here and this repeater right here to both unpower, causing basically this hopper and this hopper to unpower, or also this hopper as well. So that basically it uses the same system as to load the boxes in to unpower these two, so that way any either, or if there's a box up here, can get filtered down. And at the same time, once it repowers, it will power this, or it will unpower this, and there's no buffer. There's only one shulker box buffer needed. Now what happens is this signal right here from this observer watching this observer will power this piston up, breaking the shulker box because it has a trap door right here. Now once this gets broken, it'll be retracted, and there's many signals. So basically the signal watching here, or the signal, so basically it will power this dispenser right here, as well as powering this observer, powering this observer, powering this dispenser or dropper. So it'll shoot this as well as shoot this, so it goes all the way through, but so that way the box gets replaced. So it's a little bit messy right here, and I'm not exactly sure what this observer does, but we can check once we do the slow-mo replay of it. So we can see right here, if I just, so I have my couple of sample items right here. So I got empty box, full box, stuff like that. So if I just slow the game down, if I just shove a stack of items in there, you can see it unpower, and you can see the signal running. This gets unpowered. Oh, the box was very full. Oh yeah, because I filled up this entire buffer. But basically, that's the whole clock running. I'll actually just put this back to, because this is quite a large. So you can see it's just basically firing, and because the repeater is so long, this observer really means nothing. So you can see this going here. I'm just gonna throw a bunch of these items so that way it doesn't cause the system. So I'm gonna back up this box. I don't know why I threw it out. So we're just gonna now simulate that, okay, the box has been filled. The box has been filled. Oop. So here, so I'm gonna simulate one item gets put into here, this goes up, two signals go, it pushes it, repowers, pulls it back, and now this box is up here, and you saw the redstone fire, so that way it has a bunch of boxes. Now note that this gets one tick pulsed, so that basically means that the piston powers and leaves the composter there, so it makes sure the shulker box gets stuck in the composter, and then when it moves back up, this observer powers this dropper right here, which also powers this note block, causing the sticky piston to power again, pulling it back. Now going down into the second system, we go right here, we can go right here, and then we'll just throw all of these out. You can see it goes, pushes up, and yeah. Now the reason if the kind of buggy is, oops, not spectator. The reason this is kind of buggy is because I don't have all like the glass around it, so that way, so the shulker box actually kind of shot out to the side, but if you have the system going off to the side, it'll be also, and also I don't know why this has been happening a lot, but this water source right here is supposed to be powered right here, so it'll push the shulker box once it lands into here, into this main line right here. Now, one last thing to note about this system is how to start up the bottom box, accessible box, box display, sorry, took me a second there. Basically, how you start it up is if you don't have any box buffer like in here, so you're gonna shove a few boxes in here. Basically, what you have to do is send a pulse down to this note block right here. So you could actually just have a really long observer line or redstone line or something like that, that basically powers this. So that way, if you need to start up the system, all it takes is a push of a button, or so that way it checks if all of the ones have no signal but also need a signal. But we can just demonstrate that with the redstone block. Oop, redstone block, and then unpower it. And you can see, now that if I go over here, oops, you get one box in the buffer, and then you power it again and then off. Oop. Here, and it takes a signal, and then now you have a box. So overall, one of the coolest systems I've seen in a while, but also what I really like is the UI. I think the UI here is really clean because you got your access here, you got two items to show what the hell this is sorting, you got chest right here, and then if you need two shulker boxes worth of items, you do have access to both of them because you got it up here and down here, and at the same time you got access to this shulker box right here. Now this hopper is a little bit ugly, but you could discover it with an item or a stair or something, and you could also, even if you really wanted to, get access to items up here, but that doesn't really matter. You could really just cover all of this up right here. But overall, really great system, and yeah, thank you for watching.